Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Dr. Kamaria Washington to discuss Black maternal health and the new wave of health wellness hitting the city. But first, this week's hot takes from Bridge Detroit. Anti-gentrification project brings housing, grocery, and retail to Art Complex. And from shelter to home, how one woman climbed out of homelessness. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Hey, it's Stephen Henderson from WDET and Bridge Detroit. If you love listening to Orlando and Donna's incisive interviews and conversations on the Authentically Detroit podcast, I hope you'll also listen to the podcast I host, Detroit Today from WDET on Detroit's NPR station. Detroit Today is a daily podcast where I talk with community leaders, elected officials, and residents of Detroit, the region, and the state about politics and the values that animate our communities. Listen to Detroit Today every day on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Please don't burn on the grill. It took a hold. I forgot the words. What's the rest of the words? Just to get up that hill. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Gas Corridor at the WDET studios. We are a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Thank you for listening and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Donna and I are joined today by a very special guest. Dr. K. Washington, Kamaria Washington, is a physical therapist with a full-body holistic approach to treating Black mothers. We first met Dr. K during the first cohort of our podcasting class, and Donna was blown away when she learned about her business, Pelvic Noir. Dr. K, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you got a little tour of the studio.
Yes.
She came in curious. I love the curiosity.
I always have questions.
I came in late to that work.
She got a tour while you were being late. It's Monday and it's sunny on this October 2nd. Right. How is this blessed day finding you all? Donna, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, I had a birthday party this Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Lots of our favorite people showed up, and I was able to celebrate and bring, you know, my 60th birthday celebration to a close. So I am no longer celebrating my 60th birthday. It was a great way to cap off the end of the month.
Oh, it was a good time. It was a great time. The drink, her brother-in-law was the mixologist, making everybody lemon drops and stuff. And them folks was getting a little woozy. They're like, where the water? Donna here, where the water at? Donna here about to get us toe up.
We had water, but yeah, he had, we had four different times we did. He had gin, Cosmos, vodka Cosmos, a lemon drop, and an elderflower martini. And his martinis, it doesn't take a whole lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I came in like, where's the water? I don't know. Water.
But did you dance?
I danced a little bit. So I walked in. Let me tell you what happened. So I walked in the house and I'm in the living room. And everybody, there's music playing. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a party. Why y'all not dancing? I walked outside. Donna was outside. I'm like, where the dancing? It was mix and mingle and conversation and enjoying the company. It was like you remember how we used to have like a little set.
You know, it wasn't a whole lot of dancing. You know how he said old? You know how he said that?
Like an old set. Back in the day set. I'm not calling you old, Donna.
You said it. It was like an old. Now he's like, yeah, I mean, you know, it was not a dance party. It was not a dance party. I will acknowledge that. You came to dance, get your dance on. This was not the place for that. I apologize.
Me and Kalisha dance a little bit. We dance a little bit
all
in the
right,
living
all
room.
right. I'm not a dancer, so.
Really? That surprised me, actually.
Well, if you had gone to the extravaganza, you would have seen, you would think differently.
I enjoy dancing. I'm just not a good dancer, okay?
Oh, that
it's something I enjoy.
It's
and
not about being good. It's about just feeling,
that's like karaoke. It's not about the good
yes.
person that can sing, we don't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely about that, too.
Oh, gosh.
We won't go there.
Dr. K, how are you doing?
I'm great. Today's been a beautiful day.
It is beautiful
a
outside.
Beautiful day. Yes,
All
it's
right.
weather. We're going to ride it out, hopefully, for the week.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. How was your weekend?
It was great. What did I do this weekend? It went by really fast, I feel like. I was coming down I had a women's health and wellness event on Thursday, which means my weekend was trying to go real slow and take it nice and easy. But I had a conference that I was presenting at virtually at my grad school I used to go to. This is their second year of doing a social justice conference around and integrating it with physical therapy. So I presented about making sure PTs physical therapists know that we are birth workers and we can help with racism and maternal health care.
Wow.
So that was fun.
I've read a book, My Grandmother's Hands, and they talk about the you know this book, right? Because I'm sure that a lot of this is, but the way that our bodies experience racism and the physical impact of racism. And so it's how do you use your body to heal from that? And I got it for all of my staff. I'm trying to figure out how do we integrate that into the workplace. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, one, I want to just say the picture that comes to mind from that book, there was a picture that was floating around on the internet, and it was a woman, and then looking in her body, there was, her baby in there, and in the baby's body, there was another baby. And just like that picture was just what you just said about holding all the different things that trauma-wise and how we hold in our bodies, knowing that even in me right now is my great-great-grandchild, and all the things that I do right now affects them is so powerful to me. So repeat the question you said, because I had to.
Well, we'll get into that later. I'm just saying, we'll get into that later. I was just thinking, when I also have another book, The Myth of Normal, where the author speaks about the connection between mind and body. And certainly when you're experiencing racism, you don't just experience it with your mind, you experience it with your body.
Yeah.
And we don't think about those bodily connections. I had not really thought about the fact that when I feel stress, I feel it in my body before I know I'm stressed. I always feel it in my body before I know I'm stressed. It's like all of a sudden my stomach hurts, and I don't know why my stomach hurts. My shoulders hurt, and I don't know why they hurt, because I'm very slow sometimes to even understand my own emotions. There's this distance. And I think it's part of this thing that we have as a people of having to keep on, what is Willie Mae Gaskin say, keep on stepping. We don't have the chance to stop and really honor. We have not taken the time. We have not been raised with the understanding that we have the time for that. So I'm really interested, and we'll get into that later, about how we bring those practices into the workplace, because we work in a very, we're like a frontline kind of organization. We're dealing with people who are under stress. Every Monday we have 10, 20, 30 people coming in trying to sign up for property tax exemptions. And they're not coming in joy, they're coming in crisis. And then when they have to wait, sometimes that crisis overflows, and it's not usually just one thing, it's many things. And we don't think about the health consequences of that. And so you looking at the holistic piece and connecting that is very interesting to me.
It's so important. It's so important. We can't look at our bodies in segments. It does not make sense. Just like communities, we can't look at it in segments. It has to be a village mindset, a village way of doing things. So that's how all care should be, but it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be intuitive with your body. It's a privilege to be able to say, like what you just said, noticing your shoulders. So many people, a lot of us, we live in chronic stress and chronically living in that space. You don't notice that your shoulders up high all the time. You don't notice that your back hurts all the time because of what you're dealing with on the emotional, on a landscape of society. It's so many different pieces of that we can't really pay attention to when we don't have the privilege to.
Before we pivot, I just have a thought, and I don't want to forget this thought. This concept of the good die young, and we always say that, but are there people who carry so much emotional labor, so many burdens, that it does literally impact their lifespan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know that stress literally it affects our bloodstream. It affects the cortisol levels in our bloodstream. It affects our ability to have upregulation of serotonin, which is like our happy hormones, all these different things. So if you have someone that is being a martyr to whatever passion, work, mission things they may be doing, and they're never being able to check out and slow down and rest. And rest is resistance. Oh my goodness, that's a great book if anybody is interested in learning more about that.
I've heard about that book, yes.
But a lot of times those people aren't resting. They're on the front lines doing all these things. And so how does that affect them in terms of their body and the way that they're taking care of their health? So it's this dichotomy of wanting to move forward and keep on keeping on, but also like, have I checked in with myself? Have I checked in to see if I need to sit down? And that's hard. That's tough.
Yeah, I think about Sadie. You know the song, Sadie, don't you know we love you, sweet Sadie?
Yes.
There's no one of early one Sunday morning, breakfast on the time. There was no time to eat. You know, and Sadie is like the ideal for a whole lot of men. They're like, they don't make women like that anymore. And it's like, good, because Sadie was like carrying everybody's stuff, right?
I wonder what Sadie blood pressure was.
Exactly. It's like Sadie is sitting up here taking everybody's stuff, and we revere Black women for being able to take on all of that. At the same time, we shouldn't be revered for carrying other people's stuff. We should be honored by having people take care of us and having people take care of their own stuff. So there's a book, Emotional Labor. Have you heard about that book?
Yes, haven't read it though.
Rose Hackman. And it's an excellent book. I never even heard the term emotional labor. Apparently it's a term white women use a whole lot, but I never heard it. And here's the interesting thing. I know we got to pivot, but in her book, she talks about the fact that all of the women who are concerned about carrying emotional labor in the workforce and all of that, that they have exempted Black women who are functioning as caretakers from being emotional laborers, because if you're a nanny or you're a housekeeper, it's your job to do that. Whereas if I'm an attorney, it's not my job to do that. And she points out the injustice of this whole framing of emotional labor, which is why I haven't heard about it, because, you know, apparently our ancestors who were carrying labor for everybody, you know, Mammy was giving everybody great advice and taking care of other people's kids before her own, was not considered to be emotionally laboring. And I think it's kind of dehumanizing, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can take away the reality of your pain, if I can dismiss it, if I can discount it, then I don't have to care about how I'm impacting you.
Yeah.
So all the brothers.
If I can strip away your humanity, I don't have to care about how you're carrying me, carrying democracy, carrying an entire village and community of people affects you. And so, you know, I don't know.
We don't make Black women like we used to, and we don't make Black people like we used to, because we have this thing called freedom now, and we're focused on our freedom and our independence. We are not focused on oppression, because all of those constructs are constructs of oppression that we have to release ourselves from. And you have a service really working with Black women specifically to help Black women really heal. So I'm so interested in hearing about the service and the fact that you have really prioritized us, even well beyond childbearing years. Like somebody like me, as somebody who would be a recipient of your service, that really means a lot to me. So I'm really excited to get into that.
Yeah, and then, you know, this permission, I think that some people need to get out of the hamster wheel, right? I think white supremacy has done a number in a really sophisticated way of making us have to feel like we have to be productive and we have to produce over and over again. We have to be doing something. That rest means that we're not doing something. That stopping and thinking means that we are not being productive. And I think folks need, you know, number one, to hear these kinds of conversations, to say, oh, but the prompt that you gave a little bit earlier around checking in with yourself, because I think a lot of us are addicted to this hamster wheel. Oh, yeah. I think, you know what I mean? I think we've developed an affinity and a relationship for this, because productivity releases another kind of hormone when you complete a task, right? What does that release? Some come on, give me the term.
All the hormones,
all the stuff.
It's the cortisol, right?
Yes. I mean, cortisol is more of our stress response, but
dopamine. That's what I'm talking about.
Dopamine
Come on now,
but you know,
Dr. K, give me the language. You sitting here letting me fall. Catch me, Dr. K.
I got you. Dopamine will help.
It's addiction, but I think it's also normal.
Absolutely.
When that's your normal, then this is the way things are supposed to be, and rest almost feels abnormal. And let's be honest, when I'm on vacation, it takes me a minute to realize I don't have to rush and do something, because rest may be, what did you say? Rest is resistance, but at the same time, our world does not value rest.
Right.
Like I was reading something, is it in Spain where people take siestas in the day and go home?
I remember when I went to Spain, I arrived during siesta and no one was there, like outside. I was like, listen, what has happened? What's going on? But yeah, they were all napping, taking their time.
I've never heard of anything like that. It's so funny because we think
they go home for lunch and don't show back up till like 3.
It's beautiful.
It's a gorgeous time.
Like beautiful.
But it's so crazy. Imagine our society being like that. Imagine working for one of those companies that builds playgrounds in their businesses so people don't have to go home. Imagine those high stress businesses, you know, where they use stress as a motivator. Like, you know, my son has this job right now. And they use stress as a motivator. And he's like, okay, I'm working really hard. I got this project. I figured it out by myself. And it's like he works hard and then it's like he thinks he's got it. And then they give him more feedback and then he works harder. And I'm like, I don't know about
because
this.
We have taken on hustle culture as a badge. You know, like sleep for what?
But
there's work to be done.
Yeah.
And then, and then there's this conditioning. And we're rewarded for it.
They dangle these bonuses in front of him. And they say, look, we got this big bonus. And here's the structure for the bonus. And it's kind of hard to not want that bonus. You don't need that bonus necessarily. He's not going to like this. He doesn't listen to us anyway, but he doesn't necessarily need that bonus. But it really bothers me because
Philip, you don't listen to us.
If he does, Phillip. I love you, Philip, if you're listening. But what I want to say is I just noticed that how well it works to put that pressure on. And then he takes all of this pride, like I got it. I figured out how to do this super hard, complex project that I never knew if I could do by myself. And I got it done ahead of time. And now they're super happy with me. And it's like, ugh.
Which is so interesting, too, because what's interesting to me is that sometimes, I'm not going to say all the time, but sometimes if you are that person and you are respecting your rest and you say, email back, hey, I appreciate this bonus, but I'm actually going to go a different route, respect my boundaries. Sometimes what I've seen when I do that, people actually respect it. They actually, it's surprising because we're so used to like, oh, wait, no, I need to do this because that's the only way I'm going to get. But if you hold your boundaries sometimes, I'm going to say sometimes because not every corporate place is going to go with. But I have seen where if you show up with the value that they need and you still have boundaries and they need you regardless. If you the bomb.com, we need you regardless.
Right. But I think it's also important to understand the fragility of Black people in the workplace and the fact that we have to prove ourselves. Whether they tell us we have to work twice as hard to get half as far. And so not everybody has the confidence that they can bring that. And people do things to break down our self-confidence. They tell us we're not good enough and they do that with the express intent of getting more out of us. You know, I used to be married to a person who always made me, and I was like cooking up a storm. I was like, okay, let me cook something else. Let me try to do something else. Damn, it was hard, you know, but that's part of the process is in our culture, it's normalized. It's that hard gunning, masculine, especially he's in finance. And so in these finance positions, you're expected to do that. And listen, you're not pulling your weight. You need to work harder. And they're not really communicating. I'm trying to get this out of you because this is my vision of what success looks like. And I think we see that in a lot of workplaces, and this unspoken, this fear of failure, this imposter syndrome that people bring to the job. So we almost have to heal from that. And then also consider our choice of sometimes the professions that we choose and whether we are in places where we will be honored. Because I would like to believe we're going to be honored everywhere we go.
Right. Yeah.
I'm honored where I am right now, but my job right before this, I was not honored, not even a little bit, right? Same person, same woman, same skills and character and everything like that. I was not honored before I came here. And so, you know, I don't know if we want to tell people to change jobs. Didn't Beyonce have a song and people said, wait a minute, you're a billionaire?
I'm really interested to hear from you, Dr. K, on what checking in with yourself looks like.
Oh, I love that question. First of all, again, it is a privilege to be able to have that time and space to be able to check in. But for me, what that looks like, I am more of a somatic. So somatic means like body wise. So like I like to move my body. So if Donna, you were talking about you feel like your stomach or your shoulders are kind of tense. If I'm noticing, for me, if I start getting a mild headache, I'm like, okay, what did I do today? What didn't I do today? Did I go to the gym? Did I eat well? Like what are the things that are bringing, because a headache is definitely a sign. Even before that, usually in the morning, before I check my phone, get on social media, I am taking a step to remember what I dreamed last night, write down whatever I need to journal of how I'm feeling when I wake up. all of those little pieces for me are setting the stage of like, I am important. My body and how I'm feeling is important because that tells me more information about what I may need to do today. So setting up a routine where you can just have those moments of maybe you wake up every morning, you journal one little thing about how you feeling, how you woke up, what is it that helped you sleep last night, whatever that may be. That's one way of checking in with yourself. And then feeling your body. I think sometimes we're afraid to touch our bodies, like actually touch your body and see like, if I hold my hand over my heart, take some breaths, what do I feel?
And I hit my chest
Mm-hmm.
just, I guess it's ancestrally. I do that a lot. And I didn't know where it came from. You know, it's really, really interesting too that you're talking about the value of, you know, making sure that you are important in your own lives. And that intrinsic importance comes from your routine. It's not anything external that's saying that you're important. It's not your job. It's not your socioeconomic status. Right. It's you making that. Oh my God. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
We got to go. We didn't talk the whole first segment.
I know, but I have a question. If you don't feel important, is it possible you can fake it till you make it?
Yes.
By doing those things, you can begin to change how you feel about yourself.
And you can be around other people that help you fake it till you make it.
Dr. K, ain't nobody make us go through a whole segment. We're going to be right back with Dr. K. Stay locked with us.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
And we are back on Authentically Detroit with Dr. K. So we ran through the entire segment. So we're just going to continue because I feel like the conversation is needed. My spirit said, let it go.
Come on,
it's a divine conversation. So we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. K, and hopefully we'll get to hear more too about pelvic noir and your practice. But Donna wanted to ask a question that's a continuation of the conversation we were having right before the break.
You were just talking about working out, and I was asking about the significance of diet and exercise in self-care.
Yeah.
What does that look like, and how do you deal with the busy person who says, I don't have time for that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a doctor who, she works with people who have severe mental illness disorders or differences, and all her program is centered around is people sleeping better, exercising, and eating better. She doesn't give them heavy medications, anything like that, and significantly sees a difference in their mental health based off that. So there's so much research that shows how if we move our bodies more, if we eat things that are helpful to our body from, it doesn't have to be that you have to be vegan or vegetarian, but if you eat things that are more from the produce aisle, stay to the outside of the grocery, right? Eating those things, it helps us with being able to let our light shine in so many different ways in our bodies. And I think that it's a spiritual, almost emotional thing, because when we eat things that are heavy with the grease and the fat and different things, it weighs us down. It literally weighs us down, and that affects mental health, anxiety. There's a lot about sugar and cravings and how that ties with anxiety and mental health and things like that. So the nutrition piece is so important. Even if we make small changes, maybe you don't go cold turkey and change everything, but if you could find that one thing that you always, maybe it's the late night ice cream. Can we cut the ice cream out to maybe once a month, once a week, whatever it is that you know that you're eating frequently?
Drink
small
your
steps.
coffee black.
Drink, right, things like that. The movement, it could be as simple as, can I park farther at the grocery store? Can I park in all the way in the back so I can, because if you don't have time, quote unquote, to put in exercise into your day, it can be getting more steps throughout the day. So let's park at the back of the grocery store, walk a little farther every time. That's already more steps. Can I take the stairs at work instead of the elevator? All these little practical things are ways that we can help our bodies to move better and help reduce anxiety, depression, so many other things that tie into the mental part of how our bodies are integrated with movement and the nutrition pieces.
I remember I worked in a building in Southfield, and we were on the 3rd floor. And when I decided I wanted to get more exercise, and I just walked up and down the stairs and stopped using the elevator, and that made a big difference in my health.
Yeah, small things like that.
So integrating that, and then there's some furniture even that people can use that allows them to stand and work out, a standing desk and other things that allow people to, while you are doing that.
Yes.
Exercise. A lot of people say I don't like to exercise, but
I call it movement. If you don't, if exercise doesn't vibe with you, movement. If that's dancing in your kitchen, if that's vigorously cleaning the bathroom, like that's still a way. American Heart Association.
That was me last night.
Whatever works.
In there scrubbing.
Your heart rate went up, didn't it?
you sweating. Even talk about on Saturday. That's all I'm going to say.
But American Heart Association recommends that we get 150 minutes a week of some type of vigorous activity. So that's like 30 minutes 5 times a day.
Vigorous.
Vigorous, yes. So usually when I ask my clients, are you going for walks? I'm like, okay, is this a walk where you're strolling and smelling the flowers, or is this a walk where we're pumping it, trying to, you're really moving? Because we need that type of walk.
Should we be sweating at the end of it?
Can we what?
Should we be sweating?
Ideally, you want to be able to raise your heart rate. That's the goal. So it should feel a little bit more like, you should still be able to talk, but it should be a brisk walk.
Okay, that's good information to have because I haven't had that before. And I was listening to a podcast about sugar. I was trying to remember the name of it, but it was about these abuses of immigrants in Florida from Haiti and from Jamaica on these sugar plantations. It's crazy. So, but one of the things I learned in listening to that is that sugar is a relatively new product, that we didn't even have sugar in our diets before the slavery and all of that. When people were doing the sugar cane, that people had natural sugars maybe through yams or other fruits that they ate, and fruits and vegetables, but to reduce it down to sugar, and we've made sugar even more complex. So can you talk about the impact of sugar on our health?
Yeah, and I'm not a nutritionist. I don't claim that at all. I just know I like to read about food and nutrition. Well, But for sure with sugar, even, if you look at fast food restaurants, like even a burger, they'll put sugar in fries. They'll put sugar in it. That's how the McDonald's fries taste like taste. But it's all to get you to keep coming back, because sugar it's that dopamine effect you were talking about, Orlando. And it helps the craving to keep wanting to come back. Right. And that's not something that should be natural. If we're talking about yams, it's a natural sugar versus these added, enriched white sugars that we're talking about.
It's not as concentrated, right? You eat a yam and you have some sugar.
Right.
And so it adds to the flavor.
And
but
where
it's
is
not
that sugar coming from?
It's the sucralose the fructose.
Fructose.
As opposed to the... Yeah, so I see that. I'm looking at it like how much of what we do is manufactured by the society that we're in, because there's other places where people build in fitness in their day. I was in Sweden last year, and I did not get in the car the entire time I was there. And when I tell you, those people were the best looking 80-year-olds I've ever seen. I was like, Lord, look at those bodies.
Detroit, I think if you come from a cosmopolitan metropolis, for some folks, like I was walking out of a restaurant with a friend who lived nearby the restaurant, and my proclivity was like, you want to ride? And he was like, dude, y'all are weird. He was like, why would I live
right now.
2 blocks away? I'm walking, right? Detroit is such a funny
we get in the car
place.
for everything.
We get in the car for
everything.
everything.
Beyond Detroit, I'm telling you, these Swedish people, their fitness levels are extreme.
Yeah.
You don't see anybody walking around with canes. Everybody's walking super fast. It doesn't matter what
same
age
thing
you
in Paris.
are.
When I was in Paris, it's the same thing.
It's the culture of we're moving here. I've been to I've been to New York. I've been other places. None of us look like this. Not at all ages. They don't, and I'm not saying they don't age and die, but what I am saying is that somehow the way they eat. I went to this restaurant and they had like raw cheese and nuts and stuff like that. This was a breakfast bar. I was like, where's the omelets? It's just different, and I could see it. People just seem fit. And so how do we make a cultural shift? Because our people have been sort of at the base of all of this, right? And so, I'm just wondering about the cultural shift.
That's hard. Even when you talk to like nutritionists or dietitians that talk about food, you have to remember adding in the piece of culture. Like if I am Hispanic and rice is my main part of eating this meal, how do we do that in a different way? And there are ways to even have rice. One trick to bring down how much that hits your glucose system when you have rice is that you make the rice and then put it in the refrigerator and then rewarm it up. You actually have less of a peak in your blood sugar, right? So little things like that, if we learned about how we can integrate that culturally with our food, that's one way to do it. But then I think going back to self, it is so embedded in our culture. It is so hard to get away from or get outside of, especially if you are trying to. I have a friend that has been really trying to make these changes with her food, but because of her family, it's almost impossible. Like it seems impossible because they eat the same things that are hurting her, and she's trying to bring these new things. They're like, we don't want to do where's the seasoning? Where's all the fat and stuff like that, right? So you have to.
Right,
that's what they want. That's what they want, right? But it really is about her taking that individualized step of saying, okay, how am I going to create a different culture for myself, for what looks different for my family? It's legacy. It's a new generational thing.
Let me qualify you, because since we're in the conversation, let me give folks a little bit of information about you. So Dr. K is a proud product of Detroit, Michigan, and received her Bachelor's of Science in Movement Science from the University of Michigan School of Kinesiology before pursuing her doctorate of physical therapy from MGH Institute of Health Professions in Boston, Massachusetts. Her education then continued at Therapeutic Associates Bethany in Portland, Oregon, with extensive pelvic floor training in conjunction with Herman and Wallace Pelvic Floor Continuing Education. She currently serves the community as a pelvic floor physical therapist and educator for the Vulva Owners, a birth prep educator, and a Black maternal wellness advocate. Dr. K's interest in the pelvic floor therapy peaked after an introduction to Black maternal mortality rates and racial disparities with maternal care in the U.S. Soon after, she realized how pelvic floor physical therapy and the time and attention of a pelvic floor physical therapist can help this crisis. And she hasn't looked back since. She blends her passion for improving the peri-partum experience, particularly for Black mamas, with her training, and she strives to intersect mindfulness, community responsibility, and diversity, equity, and inclusion principles into her care. She founded Pelvic Noir LLC in 2022 as a vehicle towards birth justice from a pelvic floor and holistic perspective. That's Dr. K. That's who we're talking to right now, y'all.
1 year, celebrating 1 year with Pelvic Noir.
Well, congratulations.
This month is 1 year. That's really significant. Because
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you talked about the racial disparities, and we know. I'm the mother of three, and following my third, I had some complications, and I had some issues with my pelvic floor, and I was shamed by my doctors. I was told by nurses these terrible things would happen to me, and I felt so alone, and I felt helpless. And then this one doctor, referred me for surgery, and nobody told me, number one, how common it is. I thought it was me. And number two, nobody told me gave me any hope about how to repair it. But you have a practice. That's why I was so fascinated. You have a practice that really does repair. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and what you just said, are feeling alone. That's probably like the main thing that my clients will say. And so I always say, you are not alone, and you can get better with this. Those are always the words I say. But as a pelvic floor therapist, it is talking about so many things that are quote unquote taboo, or that are shamed, or that a lot of doctors may not even have education about. So you may be the one bringing education to them about getting help with this. But the things that I help people with are women's health issues related to prolapse, to if you're having bladder or even fecal loss of control. So you may, if you laugh and then you pee your pants, that's not normal. I know it can be something that's just like normalized, and I see it across the internet all the time. Just being normalized, but that's not normal and something that you can get better with. And a lot of people don't know that. I help people who have pain with intimacy. That's a really big thing that especially I see it like the 20 to 25-year-olds who may be just for the first time engaging in that, and they're like, is this normal? Is it supposed to be like this? And they haven't asked anyone. And they find my Instagram and like, oh, it's not supposed to feel like that. So those are some of the main reasons I see people. But then my heart for sure is birth, like prenatal, postpartum. I love that population. I love that work.
And you said physical therapists are birthing or birth workers.
Yeah, I try to tell that's what the conference was about that I was at this weekend was physical therapists are birth workers. And I say that to say, if we look at the reasons why, especially Black women, the reasons why we're having maternal deaths are a third of them are cardiovascular and cardiomyopathy. So cardiovascular conditions, something with heart health, right? Following up with that is hemorrhaging. So all related to the cardiovascular system. As PTs, we know that cardiovascular systems can be improved if we get people to move better, right? If they want to go out to do more habitual movement, exercise, however you want to call that. But a lot of times during pregnancy, people are in pain. And so they don't move, or they're scared to move because, oh, you're pregnant. You shouldn't be doing this. Don't do that. My clients be CrossFitting, lifting, all types of stuff. Serena Williams. Okay.
But, my last pregnancy, I was in so much pain. It hurt to do anything.
Yeah. And so nobody realizes that they can get help with that pain.
They didn't tell me. You know what they did? They sent me to bed. They said I had to leave work early, and then I had a forceps delivery, so that was crazy. So it was just really, really difficult. And I couldn't move. I don't remember. I just remember knowing I could never have another child because I could never endure that kind of chronic pain. I had it for about 4 months. And so what could be done for a woman who's in chronic pain who's say 5 months pregnant?
Yeah, there are so many things, literally so many things. When people are in pain, and this is why PTs are birth workers, we can help with that pain, whether it's low back pain, whether it's pelvic pain. Another common one is people having pain right under the belly, like at the bone in front. But there are exercises we can do. There are modifications that we may need to do in terms of how are you getting in and out of the bed? Are you irritating that area by the way you're getting in and out of bed? There's belts and braces for pregnant folks. But if people don't know, they just go through pregnancy thinking it has to be painful. And it doesn't. It does not have to be.
So I thank you for highlighting some of the reasons, some of the health reasons why more Black women die carrying children or trying to have children than any other group of women. I'm not sure if you read our friend Kat Stafford's Associated Press piece, From Birth to Death. It was a huge series, and the first iteration of that series is around birth. And one of the reasons beyond, the health consequences that you just named, that she says Black women are dying at an alarming rate, is because doctors don't take them seriously. Talk about that.
Yeah. And so the title that I have for this conference is Physical Therapists Are Birth Workers, and then Systemic Racism and the Effects on Black Mothers, because it is usually phrased as Black maternal mortality. And I've been trying to move myself away from saying that so that people understand that it is systemic racism and the effects on Black mothers. That is really what this is about. And systemic racism is embedded in so many different things, so many different layers of society, whether it's housing, whether it's the way people are listened to, as you're alluding to, Orlando. There are a lot of Black women that said that they were saying, I feel this, or this, something's not right. Please check this, and been ignored. Even Serena Williams with her story, which talked about that and how she was not listened to, even at her prestige with all the fame and all the money in the world.
It's the one thing Kat highlights. It's the one thing that transcends socioeconomic status, fame, all of that.
You
That's
can't
what you're talking about.
Racism, and you can't outfame racism because if people don't see you as human, it doesn't get changed with your degrees. It doesn't get, because there's nurses and doctors who are also going to the hospital. I remember reading a story about a doctor who died from COVID who could not get the help that she needed while she was in the hospital, and she was demanding it and knew exactly what she needed, and people just dismissed her and moved her to another hospital. Anyway, so I hear that. So what are the solutions, though? Because I think about what they told me, and they said, okay, bed rest. And I think a lot of us are told bed rest. It seems like that's the opposite of what I should have been doing for 4 months, is laying in bed, right?
Right. And there are some things that it medically necessary to take some bed rest. I won't shortcut that. There are some things if you have an insufficient cervix. There's some other medical
I didn't
things.
have an insufficient cervix.
She's like, that wasn't me.
That wasn't it. It was pain and it was high blood pressure.
Let's talk solutions.
Can I talk? Is the solution? Is there a solution to that? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, and let's talk solutions after we take the last break of the episode. We'll be right back with Dr. K.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
There's so many.
We are back with Dr. K here on Authentically Detroit. She just took over the whole show, and I'm not mad about it. Go ahead, Doc. So we were talking about solutions.
Yes, I'm just saying, when you have somebody, sometimes the intuitive thing, lay down, is the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. The right thing would be get stronger.
Yeah.
And so can you talk about what that might look like for somebody who is, maybe not as fit as they wish they were, or maybe there's that one area of weakness in their body?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is interesting. First thing I'm hearing is get a second opinion, because if someone tells you that and that's not something that you believe is right, can we get another opinion? And that is okay. That does not offend. It should not offend your doctor. It is okay to get another opinion of how to manage whatever you may be going through. That's number one. Number two is if you are in pain, that's the first thing we got to deal with, so that you do feel like you can go out for a walk, so that you do feel like you can maybe use these resistance bands to strengthen whatever area that's causing you some discomfort. Because if your hips aren't strong, for example, that's one main area that I work with my clients with, strengthening the glutes and around the hips to support their back, or maybe their core isn't strong, all these different things. And even beyond that, what I am realizing, and which I'm trying to shift my Instagram page actually right now, is we have to meet people before pregnancy. We have to, because habits are hard to form. If you get gestational diabetes or gestational hypertension, now you have to learn all these new ways to eat things during pregnancy. I'm 5 months pregnant and I got to learn how to eat differently right now. That is really tough. Versus if I say just young women in general, if we have more programs, right, like that encourage healthy girl now, so that healthy mama later, there's so much less to do on that back end, versus if we do the legwork up front of just being healthier before that, learning different ways to be healthy. All the main things I say is eating well, sleeping well, and moving well.
Those are really important things.
Eat, sleep, and move. Mm-hmm.
So tell us how the practice is going.
Oh, man. It's been a year. Oh, entrepreneurship has been in my butt. So
it ain't for everybody.
I never planned on being an entrepreneur for sure. This was not the goal, honestly. But the practice has been going really well. I mean, I've learned a lot. I've moved in so many different ways of how I do my structure with my clients. I'm in a mentorship program right now that helps me build the business with getting clients in, and it's a whole nother gamble being able to market your own thing. But I'm finally at the place where I have a consistent schedule of clients, and that feels really good. And so my next phase of things is moving into more community-based classes, some digital products for people to be able to learn. Because I want people, somebody in, I don't know, South Africa to say, oh, shoot, I'm dealing with this. I need to go look at Dr. K's page to see what exercise I should be doing, what course I need to look at.
So I'm so excited to hear you're interested in community-based classes. So we're going to talk, right? Because I realize that our organization has not done enough through the Stoudemire with maternal infant health. And I'm working with the healthcare system, met an amazing young Black doctor who's leading this initiative with this healthcare system. I don't want to put it out there, but there's some aggressive goals about reducing infant mortality and the mortality of mothers. And it seems like what you're saying fits right in. And the other thing I learned is that there is a shortage of OBGYNs.
Yeah.
There's a shortage of OB nurses. And so what we're trying to do is say, how can we fill the gap by providing some type of community-based support for the healthcare system so that as people are waiting for appointments or whatever, they're getting support in the community. Do you see that as being a possible new direction for your work?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my work right now has been trying to get sustainable in terms of my financial balance with this business. Now being at that place, the community work is where I'm so excited to be in. Birth Detroit has been such a beautiful example for me in terms of learning about what does it look like to integrate community in every step. They're the midwives over there, the doulas, all the people involved with Birth Detroit have been amazing examples for me of what it can look like to have so many partners and have so many community collaborations, and make sure people are carried through their whole journey from pregnancy to postpartum. So yeah, there's so many opportunities, and people being able to have, if the choice is between no education at all about this journey for them and this new chapter versus a community class where it may not be one-on-one, but you're getting group education to learn about your body. Most of what I do is patient education, and that is a huge difference maker.
I think that sometimes that group education can even be more effective because you have that peer support.
Yeah,
and you have people saying, oh, that you're going through that too, and giving each other advice. So I'm really looking forward to that part of our work because it's so important that we take care of our moms and our infants, enter this world in the right way. Can you talk about what it looks like when they don't? Let's say the child is born and the mother, because another question I have is around postpartum depression and how that's linked to all of this. So when things go wrong, how does it look, and then how can you intervene to address that?
Yeah, I think there's so many ways that can look when things don't go well. It can go as south as this mom doesn't make it out alive, or this little one doesn't make it out alive, right? That's the very worst outcome. But if they do come out alive, I think people always say, no matter how you birth, the baby's here. What if we could thrive? What if we could look back at our birth and say, wow, that was a really great experience for me. I felt supported, I felt cared for, and that doesn't happen a lot. And then we get moms who may be suffering. This is where mental health may come in, the postpartum depression. They may be experiencing postpartum pains. A lot of times when they come to me, they are experiencing pains where they're not able to maybe urinate how they were before because it hurts. It's painful to do that. It may be that they're having other bodily pains that have never been addressed, or they don't have the support because how am I going to come to this appointment, right, for myself when I got this kid at home and I need to work and I need to do all these things. So you see how so many different structural pieces of this work together. Childcare, right? Having access to childcare, having employment, being equal amongst women. Like, it's so
sleep.
many sleep. Okay,
so
all
leaving
of those
the
things.
hospital for me, I was put on bed rest for 4 weeks. I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an infant, and I was
you
put
on
on
bed
bed
rest.
rest. How am I going to do that? So my sister moved in.
Yeah,
my older sister I lost last year moved in, so I could have my bed rest and healed because I ended up going back to the hospital. It was a really difficult time.
Imagine having a NICU baby too, that you have to go back and forth. To
exactly.
the hospital.
I know so many people who've had that, and so I think having those support systems really makes a difference.
Yeah.
But I also look at postpartum depression in terms of the physical activity.
Yeah.
Because if it's important to move well after you have a baby, do you have the time to engage in the fitness activities? Are there things that can be done at a community level to help mothers on a community level so that they get the support they need?
Yeah, I think what you said earlier about having the community aspect in terms of like group classes. Support groups are really great. I don't at all want people to forget about virtual things. Sometimes moms aren't ready to leave the house, especially I find my first time moms that are anxious to put the baby in the car by themselves and like go somewhere by themselves. It can be a lot. So virtual things, even just as a stepping stone for people, can be really helpful. But anything I think that creates that community to say you're not alone and that this can get better is super helpful in that time.
What? Go ahead, Donna.
I just remember, I think that back in the day, you had so many mothers who lived on the same block, had babies together, and they were providing that mutual support. And that's not really a thing right now.
Yeah.
Now you live here, your friend lives there, somebody else lives there, and our community has become physically, geographically separated. So I'm just wondering if you think that makes a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, village, and we see that difference in so many different things, but for sure, when you don't have village, I think of some of the clients that I work with that are transplants to the city, and they may have moved because either them or their partner got a job and their family is somewhere else. And it's different. I definitely see how different it is for them to get through their journey versus the client who lives here and has their sisters and aunties and brothers who come over and help. That village makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
I want to talk to you about what you call the 3 overlooked non-negotiables for heart health. What are they?
What I usually say, hopefully this is right for what, but sleeping, eating, and moving. Those are usually the things I usually say. Hopefully that's right on whatever you read.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about how you have erected your Instagram page to be this place of community and gathering and information sharing for Black women to be armed with the info that they need so that they can show up right and ask the right questions and know their options and their alternatives.
Well, first of all, I have to say where can I even say that's pulling from? So yes, through pelvic floor therapy, but recently I did a training for a Lamaze childbirth education, and I'll get certified for that next year. But the training alone, I learned so much more about information that we don't even get as informed decision making for childbirth. So with this platform, with Instagram, the shift is now, one, I want to meet people before they even get pregnant. How can we do practical things to be able to learn how to have this healthier lifestyle already set up? And then integrating pieces of, okay, did you know that you don't, if you are told to be induced because of a big baby, is that research backed? Is there evidence around that? If it's not, what are some things you can say to your doctor? Is it a benefit to this, a risk to this? Are there alternatives? All that language that a lot of people don't feel empowered to be able to say to their doctor. And especially as Black women, we have to be able, unfortunately, we shouldn't have to, but we do have to be able to speak up and say the things that we need to about, and have a script almost to be able to do it. So that is helpful.
Or we need doulas.
Doulas,
or we need
absolutely
people to stand in the gap for us, because it's really hard to advocate for yourself when you're in labor. Or when you're dealing with all of this pain. So the word of
I hope that it doesn't even, my goal with that people ask these things during prenatal visits, because if you got a doctor that you know is more likely to do cesarean sections and you never checked or interviewed them beforehand, labor and delivery is not the time. It's not the time.
But the thing is, I'm not trying to be, it's hard to get a prenatal appointment. So you're just so glad you have a prenatal appointment. Can you shop around when there's such a shortage? I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just thinking through the challenges that people have. And, you may end up with who you end up with. And a lot of people who we work with are not so privileged that they have the opportunity and the time to do that. So what do you do? Or have you seen, are you able to equip people with the knowledge or maybe educate and advocate to go in there and stand in the gap in the event that people don't have a whole lot of choices?
Yeah, doulas for sure is they are saviors for me for being able to be, especially if I hear a client that's expressing a lot of kind of indifference about their birth and like, oh, I'm just trusting the doctor. To me, that's a red flag. Just trusting the doctor that's not going to do it, sis. It's not. So those are definitely where my ears perk up to like, okay, let's see if a doula is available to assist you with this birth and make sure that they're there to help you. But they are huge advocates for making sure that the mom is heard, that this parent is being listened to. And I think of doulas as mediators. So they're not medical professionals, but they are there to say, hey, let's slow down for a second. We're moving real fast, doctor. It sounds like my client wants to do XYZ. Is that possible? They're just slowing things down. They're just a mediator between the doctor and the parent.
I love that. There was this story that Phil Lewis, a friend of the show, Phil Lewis, wrote about a doctor really, bringing criminal charges against parents because the parents wanted number one, a birth outside of a hospital, and the doctor gave a baby after the birthing process a clean bill of health, and then called or circled back, something like the details are still murky, but essentially like called for those parents to be arrested because they wanted to consider other options. You remember this?
Yeah, there was a high bilirubin. It was jaundice, and it was dangerously high bilirubin. And so they said you have to bring the baby in to treat the jaundice under, I guess, the ultraviolet lights. And the parents said their doula was going to do it at home. And so they didn't want to bring them in. And jaundice is a pretty serious disease. It can lead to brain death or whatever. But I think the issue of criminalizing it rather than really saying this is a requirement.
Right.
Those are two different things.
Because to me, it's like, are you actually caring about this baby getting the care they need?
Right.
Or more about they didn't bring them to the hospital?
Well, you know, I think that there's questions. I do think there's legitimate questions about whether or not the care, the equipment and the ability to monitor would have been effective, right?
Yes. And that's not a doula's
I'm a children's
job.
advocate.
That's not a
I'm
doula's
an
job.
absolute children's advocate, and I believe children deserve great health care. And I don't think that parents should make decisions that are harmful to their children.
Absolutely.
And I also don't think that we should criminalize parents for not understanding that. I think that because you want that child to go back home to those parents.
Right.
And you could make a demand, bring your child in for this because this is a medically necessary procedure. Because in the end, the last thing a parent wants is brain damage to their child because they misunderstand medicine.
Yeah.
And I do think that there is somewhat of a tendency right now for people to second guess and learn about healthcare via Instagram, not from people like you, but from people like somebody who read a book or maybe didn't read a book and knows a few words, not just in that, just in everything, right? You heard about the mother who gave their child elderflower or something like that instead of taking them, and the child had the flu and the child died. And everybody was like online, and it's like, it's great. Everybody's on your side till your child dies.
Right.
And that's the worst outcome for any parent. I just feel so terrible because our children are fragile, and we do have to protect the fragility of children, even when parents don't understand healthcare needs. So I think why put the parents in jail? Why take the child from them? Why not make the parents come in, explain it to them, and make a demand on them that keeps that family whole, like family reunification and helping to keep family whole and helping to say, you know what, your child has these medical rights without saying you're losing because then the child is in a system, and then the parent may not bond with that child may not bond with that parent, and that's going to be a persisting issue. Like you said, what is your birth story? What do you remember about the birth? If it comes about in trauma and not in love, if it was your family member, you would not call the police. You would go in there and really work with your family member to understand this is why it's important.
We have to
build your
this
trust.
baby.
I gotta love you. The village has got to embrace you. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a judgment that the parents are making the wrong decision, but I think you can do it with love. With Black parents, a lot of times we just assume that they're bad parents. And the lack of medical trust is not like it's coming from nowhere.
There's very
why
good
people
reasons.
don't trust it, right? There's a great reason why people don't trust doctors, because doctors don't trust patients and don't always treat us. I mean, the history of healthcare. So I just think it's a complex issue.
Very much so.
But it was a traumatic thing. And then I started reading about it, and it's not unusual for doctors to overplay their hands and having parents arrested and foster care and all of that kind of stuff. It's not the way you want children into the world.
So we're at time. So can you give our listeners some parting wisdom? What do you want folks to leave with today from?
The 3 things that you actually brought up. I want people to walk away from this. 1, just understanding that you're not alone. You're not alone, and that whatever you're dealing with health-wise can get better with small things. But if you can eat better, if you can sleep better, and you can move better, those are 3 ways. Just focus on those 3 pillars. Those are ways that you can really improve your health and wellness, whatever your goal is. Eat, sleep, and move.
Dr. K, how can the folks get in contact with you?
Yes, stay in contact with me on Instagram. Usually is where my playground is. So Dr. Washington _. Those are the places where I try to educate health and wellness. And then my clinic page is linked in my bio if you're curious about how I work with clients and what that looks like.
All right. We'll be putting that on our Authentically Detroit stuff so that people who don't remember that can check in it. Because I'm going to say this. Even at 60, you give me hope. Yay. I'm going to call you up. I know I told you I was going to call you up. You give me hope about things I can do for my own health. I think it's so important what you do. And I also want to say, how's your mother? I really loved meeting your mother.
She is great. She's so excited. She told me, so y'all
so
hi.
Dope. Love her.
I always want to acknowledge Black women who raise strong Black daughters and doing all of this because you know, you come from a great thing.
You come from great stock.
Great stock.
I do.
If you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. All right, it's time for shout outs. Let's start with you, Dr. K. Shout out to your mama.
Shout out to my mom. Yes. Am I shouting out somebody now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say shout out right now to my little sister. I saw a really funny picture of her smiling, and she brings a lot of energy to my day.
Oh, I love it. Donna, you have any shout outs?
I do. I want to shout out Willie Mae Gaskins, who won the costume contest at the Eastside Extravaganza. Let me say this. That woman came out there, and when she mentioned if 90 years old, if I'm at 90 years old like her, I want to shout out
She's
Mark
still driving.
Owens.
Yes.
Mark Owens is in his 80s. I don't have an exact age, and I was talking to him about his youthfulness and the fact that he's still so involved in the community.
You say he's in his 80s?
Yes, he is. And he said, you know what I do when I'm at lights, stoplights, or when I'm waiting in my car for somebody, I do crossword puzzles to keep my mind sharp. And
At the stoplight?
Not at the stoplight.
Oh.
I'm sorry. When he's waiting for things, when he has to wait, he does crossword puzzles to keep his mind sharp. You know, he's still working. And I think, you know, it's so important for us to listen to
I'm sorry,
elders.
Mark Owens is in his 80s? I'm shook.
Exactly.
I'm shook.
Yes.
Wow.
And so I just want to shout him out for giving me hope. And Willie Mae Gaskins for giving me hope that, you know, people can keep on stepping and keep on living and keep on thinking and breathing and doing great things.
I want to shout out to every single creator who is out creating and putting their creation out for the world. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of audacity to release something that's so close to you that you think can benefit the world, for the world to interpret either good or bad, for the world to critique. We do it every single week on this show. But I want to encourage people who have an idea, you know, bubbling on the inside of them. Do it scared. If you're scared, do it scared, because there is a space for you. We didn't know that there would be a space for us, but we carved one right on out. So keep at it. We love you and we want to encourage you. Thank you so much for listening to Authentically Detroit. We'll see you next time.